Oh, I'm so not on mute already. The one-on-one was really, really awesome, and I think I like you reminded me how much I love acting, and how even though there's a screen, you can still be coached, with which I was like a little bit hesitant about, but sort of like going back to given circumstances and how helpful that is, even with Alexander Technique, and how sometimes I forget to combine our work from one class to another, and like everything that we learn, I like divide it, and I'm like, okay, Alexander Technique, I'm supposed to be like thinking out and all of this stuff, but that doesn't mean I forget what my character,
No,
the situation that it's in, and physical attributes and everything like that, which is really cool.
well, yeah, as you know, I've always shared with class that, how I learned to be an Alexander teacher, basically, because it's just so amorphous when you're in training. And at one point in my second year, I just said to myself, why don't you just do what you do when you sing? Which, I had this discussion with myself. And it was because for me, that feeling of letting something, of drinking in, of understanding, I mean, just intuitively, I understood pulse. I understood how to make one note to move to the next. That just was, no one taught me that. It just sort of got uncovered through my years of performing and work. So that's what I bring to it. So there's no difference. It's not something you do in Alexander class or voice class and then, not do any other place. It really comes out, that work comes out of performance, basically. I think that may be hard for people to understand or appreciate because I don't know, I'd love to hear your thoughts about that. Sometimes it feels confusing because you're trying to integrate that into all your other classes, right? Anyone want to say anything about that? How you come to know that? Because I think it's really important for us to sort of see how this, working with Vashuka yesterday, just doing some exercises and, being sort of demanding that everything come out of this place. So anyone want to say anything about that, or problems you're having, things you want to explore? Anything? Because when questions come up into your mind, then you sort of know that you're in this very fluid place. I mean, it's very interesting, right, for all of us when I ask something like that. And listen, I see it across the boards. I have a little small Monday night class, and, there are 40 some people in it, and there's not one question. And I ask that to them, and they're like, everything freezes in the body, everything goes down because, it's like, how do you keep your mind very active all the time to be able to have questions arise that formulate from the integrative process? That's how you have to look at it. So when you can ask a question, it really sort of puts you into the flow. So anything to start us off? Anyone? All right. So let's as more people come in. Hi, Kathy. So those of you who haven't signed up for a one-on-one, if you would like a one-on-one, I would love it to give it to you so you can, if there are no time slots on tomorrow, just write me and we'll set up something privately. How many of you got a chance to look at the video I sent over? Great. Josh, what did you sense from that?
There was so much it was it was so much up and ease, but also when it needed to be power. But it was like how Cetic sometimes talks about weight, heaviness, but it's not a down energy, it's up energy. It's how much power you have, and it's surging up. And I mean, just seeing him sit there was like it was so just it was, and ease in the system, ease on the, it seemed like there was nothing. It was just from the psoas straight through.
Nothing. And again, what we have to understand with that is that when you bring all of this into consciousness, right? I mean, this is really our work. How do we come to understand this? How are we bringing these unconscious muscles into consciousness? Then it becomes responsiveness to the music. And I think you see in him and in great singers like Pavarotti that they're just here and something is moving up like this. So that's, as I stand here and look at myself, that's a monkey, right? I mean, that's monkey. I'm in my feet. I'm in those inner muscles. Everything is just flowing up. So it's all that. In terms of the heaviness, the weightedness, I think what we mean by that is there's a sense of fullness. That's how I would talk about it. There's a sense of this here, something that is here. There's another great, 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 great artist that I'm going to send you. I've mentioned him in class, and he is the Thomas Quasthoff. He's German, and he is a person whose mother took thalidomide, so he has no arms. He has little flipper arms and little flipper legs. He is a monster. He is so extraordinary as an artist. And John Henry wrote this wonderful poem, really wonderful poem. And it was very Brahmsian to me. It felt like Brahms, And so I started listening to a lot of Brahms, and I went back and I wanted to hear the song that I did, I think either for my audition for graduate school or one of the juries, a Brahms song. And there I found Thomas Quasthoff singing it. So I'm going to send it to you so that you can, it's not a live video, but you can hear him singing and the passion. You can also peek into my psyche why I would like a song like that, because it was pure drama, pure waiting for something. You'll hear that in the pianist too, waiting for something to fill you, waiting for something to fill you. So I think the more we can see like this, the better we get. Anyone else observe anything in watching that video? Hello, Jay. Yeah, Majita.
I also, I found it very clear between singers and performers who look in and someone who it's just flowing out. And I feel like he was the perfect example of that, because I've seen people mimic that posture, if that makes sense, because he was like the hand over here and stuff. And I've seen younger artists and stuff like that try to do that to make it whenever they have like their slow soulful songs, and they're like, but it's like a whole different thing than what he was doing. Even though like physically, if you took a photo of the two, you might be like, oh, they're kind of doing the same thing. But as soon as that mouth opens, you're like, that's completely different.
Right. That is so brilliantly put. It reminds me, I got an email from this guy, Thomas Cote. He's head of the workshop theater company. And I had sent over 2 videos to my little Monday night class, which he is taking. And he wrote back and he said, not to put too negative a spin on this, but maybe you could send us some videos of singers that don't do this. And I went back and I said, ooh, I'm not going to go there, because can you imagine doing that? And then people are saying, but I love that singer. But I did make the point to him. I said, somebody like Lady Gaga, I'm very admiring of her monstrous talent, right? And her, strength of voice, but I'm never moved by her performing, because I think and I relate to that, because when I started out, I did the same thing. I put myself into it, which was a very high place, which I think is exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
We know all the ways, of how we should be, how we think it should be, but it's basically coming from here rather than that, as Merlixi says, meeting it. She has to meet something. Something comes to her and she meets it. Yeah. Anyone else have observations on listening to that you can feel? Yeah, Carolyn.
Watching him, it reminded me of watching videos of the Jewish men in front of the Weeping Wall with the rocking.
Yes.
Just like something so strong that it's just, you can't help but be moved in like some kind of devout way, like expression of,
exactly right.
Yeah, just something pouring through you.
And I love your hands. I mean,
They did this naturally.
And you didn't do it from up here, you did it from down here, so I could barely see. I just saw the top part of your hands, but that is terrific. You know how much that is in you, and that's how you have to learn, right? That is how this art is transmitted, is that you start to live in these, great artist bodies. When I was at Chekhov, I remember Blair used to say, go to all theater you can, good theater, bad theater. And then you can start to see what works, what doesn't work. I mean, Majita, just your understanding how you worded that was so wonderful about noticing the singers who layer it on, put it on, and those that really are in that courageous place of being laid bare and letting something affect you that you don't, in a way, know how it's going to affect you. That's the joy for me when I work with some of you, Kyle, and when you're doing text, and out of nowhere you start to feel that vulnerability and you start to feel moved by something affecting you from the text, from the music, rather than your own emotionality getting in the way. Yeah, Josh.
I just had a question about, so when you just now when you said bringing yourself, like how Lady Gaga brings her, is that like, when you say that, you mean like bringing your idea of what it should be? Okay.
That's exactly right. I
okay.
have this discussion with Jillian a lot, right? Because, and Merlixie and I talk about this too, because she was doing this monologue challenge thing. And we were talking about this whole issue of emotions, right? And emotionality, what I would call emotionality. And she said, it's very easy for me to do it. And it's very easy for a lot of people to get themselves involved, and then they cry and they cry and they cry, but it's a very upper body thing. So us as audience pulls away, right? And so when Jillian posted, I don't know if you all saw the latest video for dance, and she shared something with me that she did at Juilliard called The Addict, and it will knock your socks off. It is so brilliant, and all working from here, which is very much Martha Graham, which was their training. So she did this dance piece juxtaposed with some a monologue, Masha's from Three Sisters, and she got very emotional and she was crying. And I said to her, that's certainly your choice, but I'm going to toss something out. What if you hadn't done that? What if you hadn't let yourself start to cry like that? What if you just looked at us and did the lines like this, right? And felt the profound nature of those lines, rather than hear it crying and, the voice starts to have this sound in it and the phlegm starts to build. Wouldn't it have drawn us more into you, into the bigger picture, the more universal place of the character than yourself getting emotional? How do you take that? Does anyone agree with that? Not agree with that? Yeah, Sina.
So, I read this old Damian Lewis interview. He's he does a lot of television. He's like the star of Billions, and he had this really great quote about how when he was in drama school in the UK, they were working on 18th century plays, and all these 18th century dramas, at the very top of the plays, they always had a section called the argument, because there's in drama, there's always an argument. There's a perspective to be had and something to change from the other side. And it just kind of deepened something in me of that's always what it's, with great writing too, especially, that's usually what's to be had and what to pursue after. And that really puts your conscious, it's another way to put your conscious on the other person, as opposed to what's going on with you to be in pursuit of something.
I think that is really beautifully said. Thank you. And I liked your hand gesture when you said, what's going on with you? You went in like that. And I think that is says it all, right? And another thing that I loved so much on that video of Robert Tears, and apparently he was just an extraordinary man. He was a great teacher. He did everything: opera, oratorio, concerts, conducted what he didn't like conducting so much because he wasn't a man of great authority, and he wrote. And but what I liked so much about it, he was so fully invested in the music. And then he finished. There's that moment, you know, you begin to time it, right? You feel it so fully when you finish, and then he broke and he was himself, you know, and that was pure Chekhov too. I mean, you know, Blair used to make fun, Blair Cutting, my teacher, who make fun of the, or he said Chekhov would make fun of the actor who, you know, would leave stage and, I'm spent. You know, you should be able just to immediately break from that. So that's your freedom. Any other observations from anything? Everyone is sitting very, very beautifully and very fluidly right now. So what I'd like to do maybe towards the end of class, if you're up for it, is have like maybe one or two of you do something, right? And we can also do scene work if you are doing scene work together. I mean, you know, we can play around however we want to. But let's just start, and then I want to play around with some other things. But let's do our bit of, let's call it integration of the torso. We are going to integrate the torso. Not that we're not always integrating the torso, but we are, and I'm just going to put on the speaker view so you can see. So here we are, different ways of being, right? The common way, sitting behind the sits bones. And then if somebody says, don't slouch, we can pull up like that. So we're pulling, we pull up from here. Whew, terrible, terrible, terrible. The moment you pull up from here, you start to tense in lumbar spine. So that's generally the pattern you will see in your own students of being here behind the sits bones. See what happens, neck goes forward. You're like that. I sat like that for, I don't know, good 20 some years of my life, you know. And the other way is, and then I would try to pull myself up, but here you are. See, I have my legs, you probably can't see the bottom of my legs, but I have them pulled up right now. I'm pulling them up like, you know, 6 inches from the ground or as much as humanly possible. But what's doing that are these inner muscles. But I'm incredibly free. So practice that as you're seated there. And you can sort of jiggle from one sits bone to the next. So we usually do it more fluidly and flowing, but you can just have this sense of being here. Now you'll know you're right if a smile comes onto your face. That is really, you know, you're not loading the dice with this, but there's something so pleasurable and so fun. Now I've put my feet back on the ground, so I'm very aware at this moment of earth rising up underneath my feet. And I think that's from virtue of, and I'm lifting my legs up again, but I'm lifting it up from psoas diaphragm. Just to show you how free everything is, you can keep your jiggle going and lifting your arms. So that you're, you know, even clasping your arms above your head. But just jiggle, you know, because you're really working from those inner muscles of the body. And it feels wonderful. It just feels so wonderful to be, you know, in that place of up here. And see, my legs are completely up. I could even do this, lifting my legs up like this, ha ha ha. I'm not holding my legs up at all. What's holding me up? Psoas diaphragm, inner support. I think you can even see the roundness of my ribs as I do that. Fun tools, right? Normally what would happen if we lifted our legs like that, if we lift our legs, we'd fall back like that. But when you keep your alignment, look at that. See, that's, you know, in the AT, we call it up. But it's not made up. And it feels so light and easy. You know, it's very interesting. Alexander is always about lightness and ease and buoyancy. And I think because I was so light to begin with, very sensitive, but not there. That came much later. So I never experienced what all my students, and I never tell them this, and they always say, oh, I feel so light. And I never say that that's going to be something that they experience. It's because for me, I never had that amazing experience of being light. And I think because that was so natural in me anyhow. But when I give lessons, I'm always very pleased. People say, oh, I feel so light. Just feel so light. And why that is that most people are down. They're heavy in their bodies. They're just weighted. And the moment you're here, you have this wonderful sense of lightness and ease so that you can do anything. So when you think about that language of being centered, let's call it that, centered, weighted in the belly. You can't think weight necessarily, but you can think, yes, fullness, sumo wrestler, right? Sumo, you're right underneath the, torso, and you come up. Let's practice this. Let's hang up from the feet, right? Let's stand hanging up from the feet like this. Now watch the difference. If I go down into legs to make this happen, see my legs, there's a down. But when I go up to go down, my knees go forward, and then I have freedom. Now I'm really in my feet. Oof, yeah. So when you're in your feet, rather than doing movement like this, that's uncomfortable. But look at my feet. Feel the difference in your body when you let it be your feet. And play a bit. Knee forward, knee forward. Knee forward is from the back of the knee, from the back of the knee, from the back of the knee. Right, and just mimic me. You'll get the recording of this, you can do it. And it's fun. You should feel nothing, right? You should not feel any pressure in the knee, none whatsoever when it's right. Now we go down a little bit more. I think I'm in sort of a second position. Back to being 6 years old in dance class, right? But if we send knee forward, knee forward, knee forward, knee forward, knee forward, there you are. There's a torso. Knee forward, knee forward, knee forward, even to come up. Now we send knees forward again. Remember, knee forward is from the back of the knee. Knee forward, knee forward, knee forward. And you pause there in poise. And sense how you've got that string of energy all the way up through the torso and back up. So, ways of playing with understanding integration of the torso. Letting yourself be moved. Sits bone to sits bone. So you're see the up is doing this. I have my finger here, top of my head, and it's like I'm directing. My finger's directing me. Beautiful, Majita, that is exactly right. My finger is directing me. Push back a little bit so you can see. See the whole line of the torso? Something is moving up. That's beautiful. And notice the timing. Yes, Josh, excellent. I've got just a few of you on the side of my screen to see, so you can have bigger me. Right? But so you start to feel. See, I want us to begin to feel as I wrote in the email, time and flow. Believe me, that is such a gift when you come to that. I know that for myself, obviously, right? That you start to lock into that that's poise. This was the old man, Alexander, by poise. Movement within stillness. That's when you're available. Because you're standing there, of course we're nervous. And when we're nervous, we hold, of course. But if you have practiced this enough, then you get right back into the flow. Let's do a little getting in and out of the chair. watch me a few times. You can put a hand on the back of the neck if you want, because that helps us to understand when we start to move forward like this, to heave ourselves if you wish. But you see, today let's talk a little bit about this mystery of direction. So if you can direct yourself, you can take direction from your director by not getting in your way. So we know we want to get out of the chair, obviously, right? We don't have to think about getting out of the chair, but we want to think about our use. Oops, see, it already did it to me. You know, it already did it to me. This is what I mean about you start to be guided. You start, there it goes again. I know that sounds very, very, very mysterious, but that's what the process is. That is how you start to listen to something inside you. So now I'm going up so much. I'm just in that elevated state, right? I'm floating in air, basically. I go up so much that something takes my torso back and up. I'm going to pause here in this monkey it brought me into, because I don't want to rush ahead of it. I want to be clear. And I continue to allow my neck to free, my head to release. And there I am in the chair. So Alexander, and every single animal with a backbone, has the same reflex. The head releases off the tip of the spine to permit movement, to permit the spine to lengthen. Now, at the beginning, we hear those words and we're here madly trying to free our heads. Free our heads, free our heads. That's not what it is. It's direction, which is like a wish, right? So I allow my neck to free, there I go. If I allow my neck to free, my head releases, oops, there I go again. Hello in there, thank you for doing this, right? You know, you can make fun of it a little bit, but that is exactly what it is. Something takes you over. There it is again. So now just, I'm going to put it on normal view, and so I can see you all, and give it a whirl. Try to do it, if you have room, do it sideways so that I can sort of have a peek at all of you, right? And remember, you're not pushing yourself. It's very tempting to get nervous and push yourself out of the chair, but how can you, and maybe I'd suggest having a hand on the back of the neck, so if you feel any retraction of the head, you can let go of it. That's very good. That's very, very good. You can spend a lifetime. You can spend a lifetime in learning how to get out of the way, getting out of your way, right? That's our work. I mean, it's my work every single day. How can I get myself out of the way to just observe the body doing something like that? Then I allow my neck to free, my head to release, and it takes me here. This is, watch me for a second. This is danger zone, right? We start to move very nicely to about here. You pause, but then people get nervous and we start to work from here. We heave ourselves out of the chair. What if you sensed that you wanted to do that and then dropped it away? Just saying to yourself, I don't need to do that. But pausing for a moment and then just even saying to yourself, I allow my neck to free. What does that mean, I allow my neck to free? It means that you give up expectation, anticipation, wanting to get to the end, wanting to get out of the chair. And on a very, very, very profound neurophysiological level, you're stopping habit. You're stopping a sort of animalistic reacting to something, reacting to the stimulus of having to get out of the chair. It's incredible. It's incredible what that does for us, and we never understand a whit of it at the very beginning. We just don't understand anything about that. All of us, but then little by little you feel the enormity of the tension involved. I gotta get out of this chair. I gotta get out of this chair. You know, it's sort of like our body is doing that to us instead of, can you be here? Notice that you might want to jump. Hang out. Just hang out like this. Look at my line of direction. You can see the top of the spine right there. Right? I allow my neck to free, to allow my head to release. There it is. I was not involved in that. When I gave direction to show you, I could feel the slightest little bit of me wanting to do something. I dropped it away. When you start to do that more and more and figure it out, then you are so clear. You become this empty vessel. It just, you know, it is an amazing thing. And I don't think we understand it for a very long time. But if you can sort of be guided a little bit by even watching me or learning what this is like, if I allow my neck to free, I'll give you all the directions so you have it. I allow my neck to free, to allow my head to release forward and up off the tip of my spine, to allow my spine to lengthen, to allow my torso to move back and up off my legs, to allow my legs to release in the hip joints, knees directed forward. I allow my neck to free. I allow my neck to free means that we don't shorten by pulling back, but we're one beautiful fluid line all the way up. I allow my neck to free. I give up all anticipation, all needing to get out of this chair. I allow my neck to free. I am content to be, to allow, which in turn allows my head to unlock itself from the tip of my spine, which frees my coordination. So his words, exactly where I allow my neck to free, to allow my head to release forward and up off the tip of my spine, to allow my spine to lengthen, to allow my torso to move back and up off my legs, to allow my legs to release in the hip joints, knees directed forward. It's the same as Shakespeare. I allow my neck to free. If you go, I allow my neck to free, that's not it. I allow my neck to free. I allow my neck to free. Josh, Carolyn, allow your necks to free, right? I mean, it's that. To allow my head to release forward and up. Why forward and up? Well, because most of us do this. Pull it back and down, but forward and up is that wonderful forehead. Buddha. So your work, right? Your work this summer, and don't overdo it, but just, it's one tiny little thing that you can be aware of, you know, especially the danger zone of going out, getting out of the chair. Do we start to do this? Do we start to do this? That's why hand on the back of the neck is wonderful aid. A loving hand will get you right out of the chair. Then when we come back in the chair, do we do this? Do we try to find the chair with this thing? Or can we go up, let the knees release forward? You're basically a torso. It's like this great singer, Thomas Quasthoff, who's basically a torso when he sings, gets himself on stage, hoists himself onto a stool, and he's just pure power from this place. So you're really working with torso. Great. So that's a little bit of tool. Let's come to standing. And let's get this thing going. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And for this one of it, unmute yourselves so that maybe I can unmute you all. Hang on. Yeah, so that I get to hear you for this time. When we do our singing, we can mute again. But let's make sure you're all unmuted and let's do our counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3,
1, 2, 3,
4,
4,
5,
5,
6,
6,
7, 8,
7,
9, 10. 1, 2, 3,
8,
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
1,
9,
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Jay, that is entirely different from our one-on-one lesson. Do you want to say anything? Something happened. What happened that made it entire? That is terrific, terrific, terrific.
That the numbers don't mean anything, like,
Right.
yeah.
It was pure music. You were way up in the head. That's what I heard. That it was perfection of voice, and I can't begin to tell you. That's a week ago we had our let's all do it again. And remember, our ears are hearing. That's an improvisation. Let's do it on dee-da-dee-da-dee, right? You're improvising. You can control improvisation. You can only be in the flow. So, so that, everyone, stop. That's our essence of our work as a performer, right? As an actor, as a singer, as an artist, is that we are not doing it. We are not consciously dee-da-dee-da-dee-da-dee-da-dee-da-dee-da-dee-da-dee-da-dee. That's me thinking of how I do it, how it should sound. See here, the struggle in my voice as I show you. Something is very alive in me that is doing it. So one more time, then we'll do it on our counts again, and then we'll go on. So just one more time, let me hear you. And six, seven, eight, nine, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
that is terrific. Stop. You, Excellent. So I forgot to say this, but I just want you to keep this in your mind. The constant in this is this, right? Is being pulsed. Because if you are pulsed, as you know very well, if you are in response to seemingly something outside of you that is pulsing you, that is your psoas muscles that speak to your diaphragm. That is your apparatus. That is your apparatus, and it's a huge mystery because they're unconscious muscles and we're bringing them to consciousness. So catch yourselves, psychologically, if you're up here, it's not horrific, right? It's not bad, but hear the difference. That's how, Josh, I would talk about being centered or being weighted in the belly. It's just that you are everything originates from pulse, so that you're not tempted to, because it's easy for us to be tempted to be up here to do something, that's the old end gaining thing, instead of bringing the mind every single second to what is the process, what is the means whereby this sound is going to come out. So again, the difference would be, hear it in and feel it in you. Not terrible. I hear that and I see that a lot. Second years too, right? Up here someplace, instead of here, listening to here. One more time, then we go on. Beautiful. That is really great. That is really great. So now we're going to do a little bit of just warm-ups with our singing, then we'll start with the so's, and then I'll put it all on mute. But that was just beautiful. There were moments in my own body where maybe you didn't hear me, but I was saying, ooh, ooh, because I could feel it move through me, which means that it was coming. Anyone? Great. So. So because we're going to sing, and I think it's easier to do this. The key, of course, is that we're not doing, right? We're not so. See how down that is? Look at my body. So. I can't go up. So. So, and then appreciate the inhalation. That is the essence too. We forget sometimes to talk about the appreciation of being inhaled. But note the difference between down and up. Down is always going to be me doing the work. So, trying to feel time, and it may be absolutely 100% correct. The time may be exactly right, but it's down. Every word you speak in text, every note you sing, every note you play in music has to contain up. Everything is up. So again, the difference would be down way, so, doing way, so. Somehow I'm controlling the action instead of so. The other way is very unpleasant to me. Even to demonstrate it, I feel very out of breath because it's going down. It's not invigorating all these inner tissues. So now, I will try not to sing with you. I probably will at some point because I can't help it. But so, man here, ladies here. So. So I hope you noticed when, of course I betray myself and I start to sing because I can't help it. But did you notice between every phrase I did, there was no grabbing for breath to do the next. That's another teacher. If you find yourself trying to breathe and then saying, she's not letting me breathe. That's a complaint I hear so often from people. So you're not letting me breathe. But that's a wrong understanding of the physiology of the body. Do you know, we don't stop and breathe and then go. You are in a flow, man, right? You're in that flow of being breathed the entire time. If you are in a timeless, eternal flow, that is exhalation. Tiny little bit of carbon dioxide is leaving you when you do a short little exercise like this. So you're in the flow and you just feel that endless flow. It doesn't stop between phrases. It's never so. Di-da-di-da-di. I've been saying to some of you, your teachers say, don't drop the end of the line. It's the same thing here. You're not dropping the end of the line. You're keeping everything buoyant and up and up and up and up. Even so. Even the last note is like you're playing volleyball. Let's do the so's again with that in mind. Then we'll go to 5/4/3s. So. I was thinking as I went into the di-da-di-da-di, is that it's just like your words, right? Your words of Shakespeare, your words of text. If you're living them, really have to think about this for a second. If you are living them rather than trying to put meaning into them, they're innate. Let's just, for the musicality, just fills you. The innate musicality of your words, the innate rhythm of your words fills you. So for me, I'm not conveying the music so. That's what I would call singing, right? Instead of yada-dee-yada-dee. That to me is innate. I just feel that in my cells, just like you feel the words of your text in your cells. Instead of dee-da-dee-da-dee, that's singing. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See, this is a very good exercise. We used to do this in class and didn't probably think so much of it, even though I would show it. But relate it now to your words of text. So if you go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, that's very dry. When Josh, Kim, and I do Shakespeare, I'll say, oh, you sound too American. You sound like you're from Texas. Because, you know, there's a dry sound when you say the words. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's very dry. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See, you hear the hum through the whole thing. That's your teacher. That's so as to diaphragm, just the way it works. So think about that. If you're literal, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you're up here doing something instead of 5, 4, 3, 2, 5, 4, 3, 2, 5, 4, 3, 2, 5, 4, 3, 2, 5, 4, 3, 2, 5, 4, 3, 2, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're embodying it. That's all it is. So when we go here, see, using words is fraught. Even something like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, which is basically meaningless if you think about it, we layer it on as though it had all the meaning in the world. We go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's what you'll hear. But you want 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Dee-da-da-dee-da-dee. So maybe we'll go long like that in a moment, but let's just do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1s. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, Right. So again, instead of us thinking, this is a singing exercise, this is a vocal exercise, we're doing it. This is an exercise to let music pervade us. If we can start to think like that, that's what makes it fun. That's what gives us nourishment from it. So it's a whole different change in psychology, right? Manjita was talking about that earlier, right? We're not working from here, which is labor intensive. We're letting something move through us, which feels extremely pleasurable, which gives us an understanding of flow and time and rhythm and breath. What it really means for breath to move through us. And make the point that, you know, old French word, emotion, from Latin, right? Movement, stirring, agitation, right? That's what emotion is. And if we really strip it bare, we're talking about its breath. Everything is breath, the movement of breath. So the more you can do this in all these different formats, we start to change. So that this instrument changes and we're just in it whenever we want. Let me just check the time. Yeah, we're good. Let's do nay na nay na nay. Nay na nay na nay. Nay na 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 nay. Nay na nay na nay. Nay na nay na nay. Nay na 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 nay. See, barely the mouth barely opens. If we did nay na nay na nay, oh, everything gets pulled down. But we're not doing that. Nay na nay na nay. Nay na nay na nay. Nay na nay na nay na nay na nay na nay na nay. So it'd be like this. Nay na nay na. Now, if you should feel as we go up, I didn't say this before, and I should have, that if it feels uncomfortable, or it feels too high, drop down the octave. Never, never, never feel strain. You want to be as light and free and easy as possible. Eventually, it's like you just know. Like the music comes to you and you align to that. You don't have to worry about trying to sing the notes. We open. That's all this is. We do nay na nay na nay as compared to nay na nay na, doing the word. Nay na nay na nay. 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 And then I think one that's so good for our ears. How are you today? How are you today? You do, and then we go, how are you today? So our ear is going to hear what we speak. That's how you're training yourself to get outside the head, the doing, the trying to raise the voice. So I'll do your part too today so that you can mimic me and mimic the timing, because as we wait, the body, you know, this whole amazing circuitry adjusts itself. How are you today? 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 Notice that I'm not grabbing for breath, armoring, preparing. I'm just in flow, man. How are you today? 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 Now we do our long version. How are you today? Oh, I'm very, very well. I'm not a lyricist, as you can tell. Oh, that did rhyme. How are you today? Oh, I am very, very well. How are you today? Oh, I am very, very well. How are you today? Oh, I am very, very well. How are you today? Oh, I am very, very are you today? I am very, very well. How are you today? I am very, very well. So I did more than I might normally do, but I wanted you to have it as a record of seeing how there's no preparation, right? There's no grabbing for breath to do something. You're just staying here. So you could have your mouth closed, you could wait, and then you're right ready to go. That's just the nature of this inner process. And I think the more we can model it, the more we sense that in our own bodies, the better it gets. In terms of singing in the voice, this, as I said, amazing circuitry, readjust for every pitch you sing. You know, I had a student gave a one-on-one and she was saying, oh, I have to go down to my chest voice as long as I said, no, what are you doing? You know, because there's a mistaken thought that you go, oh, you have to go down there. Instead, no, you have to hear what I call the psychological character, the spiritual center of every note, which is a very high place. You'll understand more of that as we go. Let's do our little folk dance and we'll do some spoken text. Let's do our little la 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 la. So how you want to work on something like this is you start to feel the timing, because even the simple thing la is very fraught. You might go la 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 la. Musically correct, beat wise correct, dead, 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 and flat in resonance, flat in pitch. Sometimes not necessarily flat in pitch, but flat in resonance. So that's a voice that would not carry. So you want to be up, want to be pulsed. La 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 la. I'll have to share with you, my experience is that I give myself over to something pulsing me. I kid you not, that's my psychology, right? That's my psychology, is that this thing is bare and it gets something, grabs me, something does me. That's what it feels like, which is probably why it makes it so scary at first, because I'm not in control of anything. It's also because those psoas muscles flow adrenaline through the tissues. It's like the derivation of the word. It's a stirring. It's an agitation. So la 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 la. So that's what's going to guide us, and we'll go up by pitch, you know, half steps. La 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 la. Now you wait, because you probably notice yourself trying to grab, so we throw it all away, and then we do la 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 la. Could wait 10 years. Yeah, so what, right? La 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 la, and hopefully you have a better pianist. But let's do that. Let's sort of hang out and wait. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. I think that's very helpful. It's helpful when we do lines of text too, to not have that rushing ahead. We'll just do a few like that, then we'll go normal. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. One more like that than normal. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Now normal. Whenever breath wants to come in, let it. I'll do one more with you. La 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 la. La la la. Your turn. If it gets too high, drop out. Let's do one more. La la la. Let's do it here, coming down. We'll just skip. La 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 Final one, quite low, no push. Mysterious. La 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 la. So. Any observations, questions?
I need to keep the promise ring when I hit out on tour.
Who is the one singing?
Joshua.
Josh, fabulous.
Beautiful, Josh.
That was amazing.
That's beautiful, sir. Perfect.
Sorry, I didn't know it was unmuted.
Yeah, I unmuted it. You didn't see me do that, but it was wonderful. Observation from anyone. Anything that you observed? Anything? Questions?
I just keep getting surprised by when it's right, it's fun. That I feel like when I've so many times it's like this struggle when I'm acting, and it's like when it's right, it's fun, it's smooth, it's flow, it's go.
It is so fun, working with Michael Karache, the last one-on-one that we had, and he did something Richard the Second, and I said, how do you see him? And he painted me the most wonderful picture of him with long red hair and thin, and the way he used his elbow. It was so great, and it came so alive, and it was just, I will never think of Richard II in any other way than what Michael did, without costume, without anything. And it was great fun. And he said, sometimes I get so in my head in class because I'll hear a direction that the teacher gives or something, and then I'm trying to do it, and then it just comes out all rote and terrible, and it's almost like he just wants to give up. But I think that we forget how much fun it is to create character and to live a different life. That's great, Hannah. Anything else from anyone?
I think, Majida, do you want to go?
You.
No, you go. You go.
Who? Which one?
Okay. Sorry. Just going along with what Hannah said with the idea of fun, I think that too, the ease invites that fun, and it's something that Josh said at the very beginning, but when it's easy, you're not pushing, and it's just there, and it's delightful, and you enjoy it because there's nothing that's forceful about it. And I find that when I'm supported and I'm on breath, it's fun and easy, and it's not something I'm consciously aware of, but it just kind of naturally occurs.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And, again, what is our work? Is to bring all of that to consciousness so you have technique. That's literally what it is, because we can feel it fun and we're sort of throwing ourselves around, but it's not in that grounded place in our being. So the more that you do it, the more that comes to consciousness, and it's reliable. It becomes reliable, Anything else anyone observed? Yeah, Sina, and then Maj.
Maz, do you want to go first? Because you were called on before, I guess.
Spoken like 5 times. Go, dude. Don't worry.
something I keep becoming more aware of is like it's kind of tied to our Feldenkrais too. Is like how much when it's coming easier and I'm feeling up, I think like my jaw has a lot less tension, and so words, sounds, whatever, they're not getting like stuck in my throat as a result. Like it's just easier from here. So there's no, like, it feels like there's a lot less manufacturing.
Right, right, exactly. And you always have to, I think I shared with you, there's an Alexander teacher who's taking my class. She's a 40-year music teacher at Code College. And she wrote me about the tongue position, and I wrote her back and, explained how I experienced it. And then I thought, well, let me, just look online. And I found a speech pathologist, wonderful speech pathologist, who said the same thing that I had said. And I was so, so, so happy, because you usually think, well, these are, the science people, they're speech pathologists, although I once gave a lecture to the association of them. But she said that when she worded it like this, the core muscles are strengthened, then it frees that. And it's what I've always said to people, whatever bedevils you up here, when you start to understand the structure, the inner structure of the body and how it works, whatever, trying to say this to Ashuka yesterday, your neck pain, shoulder pain, when we start to work from here, all of that just disappears. It all disappears. So things that teachers tell you, oh, your jaw is tight, your tongue is tight. When you start to be on breath, when you start to be supported by the inner muscles of the body, all of that disappears. The reason we hold on to our jaws and necks is we have no grounding in our being. We have no support. Wow. So we support from wherever we want to, we're desperately holding on. But when you're really working from this place, it just, of course it would, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because that's the function of the body. Maj.
I was gonna say, in line with everyone else and the joy, that I usually get really nervous whenever I've had to sing scales and stuff, just because my voice is naturally low. So whenever it gets to the high notes, I'm always like, oh my gosh. But then the fact that you gave the note before that, it's like, that's not even the point of it, like reaching that note or whatever, like drop an octave and inviting that level of relaxation into the whole process. Then it's like I was actually able to get some of those notes that I'm usually struggling with, except now I wasn't trying at all, whereas usually I try. I don't even get there when I try, but now I wasn't trying, but I was getting there. And like kind of saying, it was a lot of fun. And I was like catching myself at the end of like the la la la, being like, oh snap, I did that all like up there, which is cool.
It's exactly right. And that's a hard one, and we ended, the one pitch B right below C above middle C. So it's not easy to do that. But the more that you're light, the more that you're hearing that music, it starts to build the strength of the diaphragm, which is what increases range. So it's never our doing. That's terrific. Anything else anyone discovered? Does anyone want to do in the last few minutes a few lines of text, something that you're working on, just to play with it? Anyone?
I think Josh had a hand up.
Yeah, she.
Oh, sorry, I thought Josh had a hand up.
Josh, did you? I'm sorry, I didn't see.
Oh, thank you, G. Yeah, no, I'm good. I'll wait because now, so we have time for people to do work if they have it. Thank you, though, G.
Yeah, anything from anyone? So who would like to do some work? I see Kathy, do you have a, yeah. Oh, anyone want to do something? No one wants to do something? Sina, okay, beautiful.
If there's, I have people not had a one-on-one, I was like, if somebody has it, maybe it'd make more sense for them to go, but if nobody will, I'm totally down.
Okay. Sina, you want to?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
So just a few minutes and let's just play with how we might hear something. Did you want to do a sonnet or something?
Yeah, I'll just work on the sonnet I've been working on.
Great.
Cool.
Which one is that?
Sonnet 29.
Oh, yeah. I should remember that by now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Give us a little preview. So you're thrown this. What goes on in your mind before you start?
I'm a cerebral actor. I find though I'm trying to really move towards just giving myself free and easy a single thought, like what's happened, why am I like, what is happening right before that's making me say this to whoever I'm talking to. So like for this, I'm thinking like something bad has happened and getting specific with it. When in Disgrace with Fortune, I'm gonna say like, oh gosh, coronavirus. There's this horrible coronaviruses everywhere, and people are passing. Like I'm just thinking that like coronavirus and how terrible it is and how that's affecting everybody and me specifically too.
So let me tell you how I do it. I trust that I'm in this, right? I know what I want. I want to be in relationship to those words. I want it to be on breath. So maybe the first thing, because you're at these beginning stages of your work, is that you want to make sure that your voice is on breath rather than down here in the throat.
Huh.
Because the moment then it destroys everything, right? It doesn't carry any meaning. If the voice, I mean, this is why I know how hard this is. Please, please, please believe me. I know how hard it is to work, to hear your voice when it's on breath, but it's so important because that carries meaning. That carries the meaning of the text. Otherwise we focus on you. I would prefer not to be focused on. You know, I guess that's my shyness, but I prefer not to be focused on. I want the words to flow through me, and I know the only reason they can flow through me is if I'm on breath, so I start to hear that. When in Disgrace with Fortune in men's eyes.
When in Disgrace with
the text is going to feed me, in other words. So I just tell you my process, so go ahead now.
With Fortune and men's eyes, I all alone beweep my outcast state. And
how about if you just, I all alone beweep my outcast state.
I all alone beweep my outcast state.
Becky, what do you hear? Tell me.
Like I hear pauses, like between the words.
And what is causing that? Carolyn, can you guess? What is causing what Becky said, the pauses between the words?
Not letting the flow of breath.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Right. Because then it becomes, we're waiting, W-E-I-G-H-T, right? We're waiting every word. Kyle, you're smiling. Do you have something to say about this? Or my eyes just not.
I just thought the idea of waiting versus the waiting that we want. I thought that was.
Yeah, exactly. The waiting that we want. So just simplicity. Start it with great simplicity. It will grow in you. So yeah, let's take it. That's excellent, people. I'm not trying to put you on the spot. You'll never come back to class if I do this too much. So, so let's do it again.
When in disgrace with fortune and men's eyes, I all alone beweep my outcast state.
And pause for a second. That is doing it from your throat.
Yeah.
You're trying to feel the words in your throat, and everyone can relate to that, correct? Think about that. We all can relate to trying to feel something and put something into it rather than just, I all alone beweep my outcast state and trouble deaf heaven with my bootless cries. But you are there for me. I love you. You are here. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all what goes on because I have you, my beloved. That's it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Kathy, anything you want to say? Nice to see you. Would you like to weigh in, Kathy? Anything? Yeah.
Yeah, nice to see you. And yeah, I can sense I was doing this. You were asking like, what did we sense? And I sensed a bit of down. But it was interesting to hear you kind of start with, whatever line you started with and just be able to expand on it and just feel like it was just coming out of you.
That's right.
Right.
That's exactly right. And I think that that's a facility one gets, that you can take any line and just be, I mean, this is what you do in a cold reading. You have to do this. You've never seen this stuff before, right? And so if you're in this process, it's still, you might not be making a lot of sense out of it as it's going through you, but something will start to penetrate through you. That's exactly right. So Sina, start it one more time. And, you know, I'll try not to stop you too much, but you know, is one of the, Merlixie said in our last session, she wrote about this. She said what helped her so much was the shopping list, you know, eggs, butter, nuts, cheese, bread, right? When in disgrace, you know, I allow my neck to free. One and the same. That's why Alexander wrote the directions the way he wrote them. I allow my neck to free instead of, I allow my neck to free. I'm trying to feel it in my throat. I allow my neck to free. I allow my neck to free. I allow my neck to free. Is this alignment here, engaging diaphragm, that focuses my voice here. So one starts to get used to hearing the right thing. So one more time. Just let it flow. Don't hold on to feel the words. That's probably the best way of saying it.
One in disgrace with fortune and men's eyes, I all alone beweep my outcast state and trouble deaf heaven with my bootless cries and look upon myself and curse my fate.
Trouble deaf heaven with my bootless cries. Go.
Trouble deaf heaven with my bootless cries and
Look upon myself and curse my fate.
And look upon myself and curse my fate.
Stay there. Keep going.
Wishing me like to one more rich in hope.
Featured. Keep going.
Featured like him with friends possessed.
Well, there you start to feel the words again, correct?
Yeah, it's definitely I have such a like I so badly want to hit those sounds and I'm like, oh, this is a fun, like possessed. Oh, what a full of sounds word. So it's like really just stepping out and being into the moment with it.
Possessed, 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 possessed. It feeds you. You can't layer a meaning onto the word and try to make the meaning onto the word, if that makes sense. So like that's like a bad painter doing representational art, right? You just have to let those words as though they have they formulate themselves in you. They formulate as it moves up through your tissues and emerges out of your mouth. And it's only then that you come to know them. That makes sense a little bit? Right. But that was beautiful. You did the couple lines before. It was so perfectly on breath. I don't know, we'll hear what people say, but let's just do a couple more. Let's go from desiring this man's art.
Desiring this man's art.
That's in the throat. That's in the throat.
Huh? Desiring this.
Yes, very good.
Desiring this man's art and that man's scope. What I enjoy most, contented least.
I most enjoy.
Is it what I most enjoy or enjoy most?
What I most enjoy.
What I most enjoy, okay.
Yeah, otherwise it would sound too American, right? What I enjoy most. What I most enjoy has a different art, doesn't it?
Yeah.
With what I most enjoy, hear that pitch, hear the tonality, and go from there.
With what I most enjoy, contented least.
Beautiful.
Yet in these thoughts myself almost despising, happily I think on thee and...
Careful, that sounds too, American, right? So you want to say, happily I think on thee. Happily I think on thee.
Happily I think on thee. Put down again.
Excellent. Why do you just say no?
I'm just trying to catch myself. I'm probably doing it a little too much, but like this is how I would rehearse with myself. I felt like on thee, I went kind of, I felt it in my throat, but I felt like before it was okay. Yeah,
no, it was excellent. Happily I think on thee. See, thee, beloved, thee. You know, it happens to you naturally, right? As you do it. So let's go from there.
Happily I think on thee, and then my state, like...
In the throat. And then my state, like to the lark. Right.
Huh. And then my state, like to the lark at break of day arising from sullen earth.
So right here, at break of day arising from sullen earth. At break of day arising from sullen earth. At break of day arising from sullen earth. Everyone, you can say it. Well, no.
Arising from sullen earth.
Great. Keep going.
At break of day arising from sullen earth sings hymns at heaven's gate. For thy sweet love remembered such wealth brings that then I scorn to change my state with kings.
Bravo. Wonderful. Observations from anyone? Hannah.
That time, Sina, it was so colorful, which is always like a weird way to talk about sound, but it felt like I didn't know where you were going next. It wasn't, it was unpredictable, and that was interesting to my ears because I was like, ooh, there was more richness in it for me to listen to and like engage with. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Hannah, your voice sounds so beautiful right now too. Nash.
I also felt like there was like a light in your eyes by the last like quatrain section of it. And I just thought that was really beautiful and interesting because even though something is somber, like we still speak of it with a sense of like fire or like disappointment in the circumstance, whatever. So it's not like this downward thing that I think when we're putting it on, we think that that's where it lives, but it's like, no, like when stuff happens to you and when things hurt you like that, it's like a punch here and that has a fire behind it. So it was, yeah, you looked beautiful.
Right.
You're always beautiful, but you looked even more beautiful the last time you did it.
Right. It's so interesting. Other observations, really terrific. Anything from anyone? Yeah, Jay.
The difference between, I think like before, it felt like you were looking inside or watching yourself. And by the end where Majida, like the glowing eyes, I experienced that too. But also just like the images, like for me, transmitting from you to me came just like flashes in my imagination. So, yeah.
That is very well put because I think that's exactly what happens. You give imagery to your audience. Just like I told you, Michael Caracci, as he painted Richard II for me, it was like, that will live in my mind forever. I don't know if I ever think of Richard II without, long red hair and skinny and, dressing like that and having an elbow like that. I think that will live in my mind forever. That is really what happens to us, these images. And Riley, you talked about that in our one-on-one, that you were getting images come up into your mind. And that's what's really fun. That's the creative process. Things materialize inside of you and present themselves to you. So, anything else, anyone? Yeah, Josh.
It was the note that you gave to like not try to feel the words was really cool because when Sina was doing that, it was behind the speed of the thought was faster than the words were coming out, and when he let it go, the thought was on the words.
Wow. Yes, it really was wonderful. Really brilliant work, everyone. Anything that you want to direct our work forward? Do you know what we're going to do as we go on? Any suggestions from anyone? And how often do you want to do this? Do you want to do it? I'm fine with doing it once a week if that's what you like. What would you want? Yes, I'm getting that. May we ask our resident technician, Nick Saxton there. I recorded it on, because my disc keeps saying your disc is filled, which is the disaster, right? But I did it on cloud, the Zoom cloud. And I'll send you all the link to it. But is it possible to take the Zoom cloud link like that and upload it to like a YouTube channel? You know how to do that. Okay, great. Perfect. All right, dear friends. So Josh, I'll see you tomorrow. And anyone else. Kathy, if you want a session, just write me and we'll set something up, okay? Beautiful.
Thank you.
All right, friends. Take good care.
Thank you, team.
Bye.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Gene.
Gene.
Bye, Jean.
Well, good seeing everyone.
Thank you.